Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 8, Text 1. Raja Uvacha Brahmana Jodito Brahman Gunakyane Gunasya cha Yasme Yatha Praha Narado Devadarshana.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Translation. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadev Goswami, how did Narad Muni, whose hearers are so fortunate as those instructed by Lord Brahma, explain the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is without material qualities, and before whom did he speak?
Text 2. Etad viditam ichchami tattvam tattvavidam vara hare adbhuta viryasya katha loka samangalaha.
The king said, I wish to know narrations concerning the Lord, who possesses wonderful potencies, are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets.
Text 3. Kathasva mahabhaga yathaham akilatmani Krishna nivasya nihasangam manastakya shaye kalevaram.
O greatly fortunate Sukadev Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely free from material qualities, thus relinquish this body.
Text 4. Shanvatta shraddhaye nityam granastascha swajaistitam kalena nati dirghena bhagavan vishyate rite.
Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time.
Text 5. Pravishta karnarandrena swanam bhava saroruham tunoti samalam krishna salishya yatha sarat.
The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, enters the heart of a self realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material association, such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus, it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water.
Tutatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam Namunchati Mukta Sarva Pariklesha Pantasva Saranam Yatha.
A pure devotee of Lord Krishna, of Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of the Lord, for they fully satisfy him, as a traveller is satisfied at home after a troubled journey.
Text 7. Yat atatu mato brahman deharambo saya tutapi yatra chaya hetunava bhavanto janate yatha.
O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this? For it is the known to you.
Text 8. Asit yad udarat padmam lokasamsthana yavanayam ve purusha yat vaya vaprattaka tavan asva iti prokta samstavaya vavan eva.
If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities?
Text 9. अचाशिचत्ति भूतानि भूतत्मा यदनुग्रहात् तद्दृश्येन तद्रूपं नाभिपद्मा समुद्भवः.
Brahma, who was not born of a material source, but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord.
Text 10. स चाप्यत्र पुरुषो विश्वस्थिति उद्भवापयः मुक्त्वत्मामयं महेशः सेति सर्वगुहशयः.
Please also explain the personality of Godhead, who lies in every heart as the Supersoul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy.
Text 11. Tusavaya vere loka sapala purvakalpitaha loke mushyavaya yavya sapalariti sushruma.
O learned Brahmana, it was formally explained that all the planets of the universe, with their respective governors, are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also explained that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you explain that?
Text 12. Yavan kalpo vikalpo va yatha kalo numiyate bhusabhavya bhavakshapta ayurmanam chayat sataha.
Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and the measurement of life of different living entities, including animals, human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe.
Kalasyan kalasyanno gatiryatu lakshate nivibrishyati api yavatyakarmagatayo yadrishe sattama.
O purest of Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of different durations of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time following the course of action.
Text 14. Yasmin karma samavayo yatha yenopagrayate gunanam guninam cheva parinamam abhipshatam.
Then again, kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures.
Text 15. भूपतालककुव्यामा ग्रहनक्षत्रभूभृतम् सरित्समुद्रद्विपनम् सम्भवश्चेतदोक्षसम्.
O best of Brahmanas, please also describe how the creation of the globes throughout the universe, the four directions of the heavens, the sky, the planets, the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas, and the islands, as well as different kinds of inhabitants take place.
Text 16. प्रमाणम् अन्धकोशस्य वायव्यायन्तरभेदतः महातं जनुचरितं वनश्रामाविनिश्चय.
Also, please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions, as well as the characters and activities of the great souls, and also the characteristics of the different classification of the castes and orders of social life.
Text 17. युगानि युगमनं मानं च धर्मो यश्च युगे युगे अवतारनुचरितं यद् आश्रयतमं हरे.
Please explain all different ages in the duration of the creation and also the duration of such ages. And also tell me about the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord in different ages.
Text 18. नरणं सत्तरनो धर्मा सविशेषश्च यदृशः शनीनं राजशिनं च धर्मकृत्रेषु जीवतम्.
Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliations of human society, as well as their specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of social orders, as well as the administrative royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress.
Text 19. तत्त्वनं परिसङ्ख्यानं लक्षणं हेतुलक्षणं पुरुषरतानविद्येर्योगस्याध्यात्मिकस्य च.
Kindly explain all about the elementary principles of creation, the number of such elementary principles, their causes and their development, and also the process of devotional service and the method of mystic powers.
620. योगेश्वरेश्वर्यगतिर्लिङ्गभङ्गस्तु योगिनं वेदोपवेदधर्माणम् इतिहासपुराणयोः.
What are the opulences of the great mystics, and what is their ultimate realization? How does the perfect mystic becomes detached from the subtle astral body? What is the basic knowledge of the Vedic literatures, including the branches of history and the supplementary Puranas?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Sunita Mataji and Harsha Mataji, thank you so much for beautifully reciting in Sanskrit and English. It was very, very nicely done. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to all the Matajis and all the devotees for joining today's session. I will do some prayers before reciting. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Shranvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayanta Sthoya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suratsatam नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. So today we are studying chapter 2, Srimad Bhagavatam chapter 2, which is the cosmic manifestation, and canto 2, cosmic manifestation, chapter 6, and which is like questions of Parikshit Maharaj from Shukadev Goswami. And today's verses are 8, 9, and 10. So verse 8, text 8. Asidhyad udratat padmam lokasamsthana lakshanam yavan ayam vai purusha iyatavaya vai prathak tavan asaviti proktaha samsthavaya van iva. Translation and purport. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of the common living entities? Purport. One should note how Maharaj Parikshit intelligently put questions before his spiritual master for scientific understanding of the transcendental body of the Lord. It has been described in many places before this that the Lord assumed a gigantic body like that of Karanodakashe Vishnu, from whose hair pores innumerable universes have generated. The body of Garbhodakashe Vishnu is described as sprouting the lotus stem within which all the parts of all the planets of the universe remain, and at the top of the stem is the lotus flower on which Lord Brahma is born. In the creation of the material world, the Supreme Lord undoubtedly assumes a gigantic body, and living entities also get bodies, big or small, according to necessity. For example, an elephant gets a gigantic body according to its needs, and so also an ant gets its body according to its needs. Similarly, if the personality of Godhead assumes a gigantic body to accommodate the universes of the planets of a particular universe, there is no difference in the principle of assuming or accepting a particular type of body in terms of necessity. A living being and the Lord cannot be distinguished simply by the difference or in the magnitude of the body. So the answer depends on the specific significance of the body of the Lord as distinguished from the body of common living beings. Verse 9. Ajah srajati bhutani bhutatma yad anugrahat dadrasheyena tadrupam nabhi padma samudbhavaha. Translation. Brahma, who was not born of a material source but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. Purport. The first living creature, Brahma, is called Ajaha because he did not take his birth from the womb of a mother materially born. He was directly born from the bodily expansion of the lotus flower of the Lord. Thus, it is not readily understandable whether the body of Lord and that of the Brahma are of the same quality or different. This must also be clearly understood. One thing is, however, certain. Brahma was completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, because after his birth, he could not create living beings by the Lord. He could create living beings only by the grace of Lord, and he could see the form of the Lord. Whether the form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of Brahma is a bewildering question. And Maharaj Parishit wanted to get clear answers from Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Text 10. स चापि यत्र पुरुषो विश्वस्थित्य उद्भवाप्ययः मुक्त्वात्मा मायां मायेशः शेते सर्वगुहाशयः. Translation and put. Please also explain the personality of Godhead who lies in the every heart as Supersoul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy. Purport. Undoubtedly, the form of the Lord who was seen by Brahma must be transcendental. Otherwise, how could he simply look upon the creative energy without being touched? It is understood also that the same Purusha lies in the heart of every living entity. This also requires proper explanation. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते. तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Jai. So going back to the verse 8. So here in this chapter, in the beginning of the chapter, Parikshit Maharaj is very submissively asking these questions from his spiritual master Shukadev Goswami. And it shows us actually in the beginning only, in the beginning of the chapter only, it shows how submissive and inquisitive should a disciple be. Just like Parikshit Maharaj, it is giving us an example. If we go to the first few verses, he is asking question as if he doesn't know anything actually. But if we see Parikshit Maharaj is already a devotee. He was already a devotee of Lord Krishna, and it is only for one reason that he had to, play this role of a disciple. And Shukadev Goswami asked this question so that we, the people of Kali Yuga, can get benefited by those questions and answers. Just like Arjuna asked questions from Lord Shri Krishna for the benefit of us. In the same way, Bhagavatam was again recited, which was not the first time. Anyone knows when was the Srimad Bhagavatam recited for the first time? Because it has been happening many times, repetitions, and most of the people think that this is the only time when it was recited, but it was first recited somewhere else, very first time. Any knowledge about that? So Lord Krishna himself recited Chatu Shloka Bhagavatam to Lord Brahma, to Brahma. That was the first time it was recited. And then it was passed on from Brahmaji to Narad Muni, from Narad Muni to Shukadev Goswami, from Shukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, and that so on. So that's the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. So yeah, it was just for the benefit of common people, it was recited, and Parikshit Maharaj was very submissively showcasing how a disciple should be, so inquisitive, asking questions about the Lord, and wanted to hear and purify himself through the stories of Bhagavatam. So that is how it begins. This chapter begins. And he asked so many questions. He's asked about Krishna's forms. How is Krishna's body different from living entities, from us? Why? And it's not that he had no idea about who Krishna is, but he was asking genuinely those questions for our benefit. He's asking about Krishna's body, difference between Krishna's body and our body in this verse also. And then he's also asking about creation, time, creation, planets, and how is everything situated within the body of Lord, because in previous chapters we also read about Mahavishnu and Purusha Avtaras. So he's asking all these questions here. And if we see verse 8 particularly, in verse 8, he's saying, it is said, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of the common living entities? So Parikshit Maharaj is asking this question, that what is the difference between the gigantic body from whose navel, from the lotus flower of whose navel comes Brahmaji? What is the difference of his body and our body? So yeah, the answer is within the verse only. The answer is there, and the answer is also in the next chapter, chapter 9. Would anyone like to speak about this? What is the difference between gigantic form of the Lord and living entity's body? The answer is there in the verse, in the purport itself. Anyone would like to discuss about that or read that? So the okay, I'll just say. So here in the purport it says that, and in the next chapter also, that Lord's body, and even in the 11th text of this chapter, it is said that Lord's body has different forms, different universes, so many universes within his body. Universes along with demigods and different living entities reside within Lord's gigantic body. And because his function is different than our functions, our body's function. So our body, we get our body based on our sanskaras from previous lives, based on our desires. We get our body because we're always affected by these three modes of material nature. And whatever consciousness we have before death, we get that body in the next life. So all these answers have been answered by Shukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So this is also explained in the next chapter and verse 11. So one should note how Maharaj Parishit intelligently put questions before his spiritual master for scientific understanding of the transcendental body of the Lord. It has been described in many places before this that Lord assumed a gigantic body like that of Karnodakashay Vishnu. So Karnodakashay Vishnu, as we have already we discussed about it in yeah, we already discussed in previous few chapters also. The Karnodakashay Vishnu is the first incarnation of the Purusha Avtaras. First incarnation Karnodakashay Vishnu, then Garbhodakashay Vishnu, and then Kshirodakashay Vishnu. So Karnodakashay Vishnu, when he breathes in and breathes out, the universes comes out of his body, gigantic body, and the pores of his body. So his function is that his function is so big than our function, our body's function. So from his body's pores, innumerable universes generate. And Brahma also comes and he dies, and another Brahma comes and dies within this breathing and in and breathing out. So the body of Karnodakashay Vishnu is transcendental body, and our body is not transcendental. So it is said that in next chapter, it is also mentioned that our body have 5 defects. I'll just mention that. Yeah, the material body is overcast with 5 kinds of miserable conditions, our bodies, and those miserable conditions are ignorance, material conception, attachment, hatred, and absorption. So these 5 things, again, I'll repeat, 5 miserable conditions are ignorance, material conception, attachment, hatred, and absorption. These are the 5 defects and 5 kinds of miserable conditions of our body, material bodies. But Lord doesn't have those defects in his bodies, and his body is what? His body, there's a specific name that we give to God's body, Lord's body, and that is called Satchid Ananda Vigraha. So Satchid Anand Vigraha means Satchid is like eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. So that is, Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means bliss. So Lord's body is transcendental, is Satchid Ananda Vigraha. And that is also mentioned in various verses of Bhagavad Gita and in Srimad Bhagavatam. Repetition has been done. Srila Prabhupada has also mentioned in his purports again and again what is the difference. So that is also the difference between our body and Lord's body. And like I said, the consciousness, our consciousness is polluted, is always within the 3 modes of material nature. So we get different bodies according to that, which is the answer to this question of Parikshit Maharaj also. And then it says that the body of Garbhodakasha Vishnu is described as sprouting the lotus stem within which all the planets of universe remain. And at the top of the stem is the lotus flower on which Lord Brahma is born. Yeah, the Garbhodakasha Vishnu, because Garbhodakasha Vishnu, from his garb, from his navel comes Lord Brahma. In the creation of material world, the Supreme Lord undoubtedly assumes a gigantic body. And living entities also get bodies, big or small, according to the necessity, like we mentioned. For example, an elephant gets gigantic body according to its needs. And also because that elephant became an elephant because of his consciousness in his previous life. Ant becomes ant because of the consciousness that they had in their previous life. So all these things lead us to these different forms of animal bodies or demons or devtas or different forms of bodies. Similarly, if the personality of Godhead assumes a gigantic body to accommodate the universe or the planets of a particular universe, there is no difference in the principle of assuming or accepting a particular type of body in terms of necessity. So Prabhupada has mentioned so simply that because a gigantic body is required for the Lord to to contain the universes, so many multitude of universes, demigods, so many, everything is within Krishna, within the Lord's body. So he needs that big body, and we don't need it. Whatever our karmas were, we get such kind of bodies. And then in the end, Prabhupada is mentioning a living being and the Lord cannot be distinguished simply by the difference in the magnitude of the body. So the answer depends on the specific significance of the body of the Lord as distinguished from the body of common living beings. Also, then the question also comes that is the we have same quality as the Lord, but the quantity that Lord has, the Lord is big in quantity. We can't match that. The quality is same. It's just achinta bheda bhed tattva, the philosophy that Lord Chaitanya has given us of sun, that the sun planet and the rays of sun are the same quality, but we can see the magnitude of sun is bigger than the sun rays. We are just like sun rays. So we cannot compare ourselves with Lord's quantity. That cannot be compared. And if we go to the next verse, verse 9, it says that the translation says that Brahma, who was not born of a material source, but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. So the first living creature is who? Brahma. And he is also called Ajaha. Why? Because he did not take birth from the womb like we take birth from the womb of the mother, but he took birth from the, he's so fortunate that he directly was born from the bodily expansion of the lotus flower of the Lord. He's so fortunate. Does anyone know who gets the post of Brahma? Who becomes Brahma? What is the qualification to become Brahma? So the qualification is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, that the qualification or the person who hasn't done any sinful activities, the purest of all living beings, get the position of Brahma. So that's how Brahma is born. But he's very fortunate because Lord is impressed by him, and he gives him the this position to look after the whole universe, I mean to create it. But then again, um, again the question is that how then Brahma was able to see the Lord. There's a big story behind this, actually, how Brahma was able to see Lord. And it is also explained in next chapter. When we'll go through the next chapter, we'll go through it in detail. It's a beautiful chapter where Brahmaji is glorifying the Lord and he's doing the prayers. So when Brahma was born, Brahma was not able to actually see the Lord immediately. So we can compare it with us. When we come to the world, we are not able to see how miserable the world is and what is our purpose in life when we are new in this world. So Brahma was not aware of where did he come from, but he knew that he's sitting on a lotus flower. And then what he did, he started looking for the creator who created him. And because he didn't do any bhakti, so obviously Krishna will not reveal himself without doing bhakti. That is the only way Krishna can reveal himself and uncover himself. But then Brahma was not aware of that. So Brahma, because he was inquisitive and he actually really wanted to know the purpose of his creation, why was he created, he went down to the water and he started looking, where is my creator? And then he started hearing the voice, heard it 2 times, the hymns. It said tapasya, tapasya. So 2 times he heard this. And when he heard this, it is also telling us about the qualities of Brahma also, how to be a disciple, a strict disciple and submissive disciple. So when he heard that, his senses became purified also after hearing those words, and he followed what the voice was telling him. He followed that. That was his only guru actually at that time, the voice. And then he followed it, he had faith in it, and he went back to his lotus seat, and he just decided that whatever instruction I've been given, tapasya, let me follow it. And without wasting his time, he started doing tapasya for many years. So the tapasya he did was for 1,000 years, 1,000 years of not this worldly 1,000 years, but the 1,000 years of demigods. So those were it's very long time actually. We can't even imagine how long it is. Yes, tapa. Yeah, it was not tapasya, tapa. Thank you, Mataji. So he heard that, and yeah, he started doing penance, very strict penance for 1,000 years, and just meditated. And then finally, Lord Krishna, when he got impressed by seeing Brahma's penance that no one can do in this world, no one can compare to the tapasya that Brahma has actually done for the creation, to be able to create everything. So that is another reason why Brahma has been given a name of, he's been designated as the topmost tapasvi, Brahma. We cannot compare. He's been given that position actually because he did a lot of penance. And then Lord got impressed by him, and then Lord revealed himself to Brahma. And and Brahma was able to see the Lord because he did devotion. It was a devotional practice. Why? Because Brahma followed the orders what he was given to him. And it is also said that Brahma got initiated by Krishna. I mean, it is on the next chapter, when we'll read the next chapter, it is mentioned there that Brahma was first initiated by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna initiated him, not like the initiation that we have, but the initiation was done within the heart. Krishna, within the heart, directly initiated him with mantras. So he got the mantra of his initiation mantra, and Brahma got initiated. And then it also gives us an example, or it gives us this idea of not taking initiation very cheaply, because it really needs penance and tapasya to get to surrender and to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And the first initiation is done within the heart, which is also mentioned, Prabhupada has mentioned in the purports in the 9th chapter, that the first initiation happens within the heart. When we completely surrender to the instructions of our spiritual master. But then we should not imitate Brahma and think that our initiation is done by Lord within our heart. No. Brahma's level of penance cannot be compared, that he did, and Lord was very close to him. So Lord initiated him directly. But we we should not think that, we can just follow what our heart says, and we think like that. It shouldn't be done like that. Brahma and Krishna's guru and disciple relationship was different at that time. So he got initiated, and then he got the mantra, and then there's a huge big story behind it. When he was able to see Vaikuntha Lokas, he was able to see, Brahma's explained that he was able to, he's glorifying the Lord in his Vaikuntha Loka, that he was given the vision to see Vaikuntha Loka. And what he saw is that everyone was blue skinned, the same form as Krishna and as Vishnu, with 4 arms, and there were these what do we call them, airplanes, there are some celestial beings and some celestial planes, I forgot the yans, some kind of yans. And no one had any envy, jealousy, or any kind of those things. Miseries were not there. Everyone looked very blissful in Vaikuntha Loka. And then he also saw that the energies of Krishna were sitting with him. The various energies of Krishna, the 6 opulences were sitting. They were personified, and they were sitting with Krishna. And he was able to see everything. And Krishna himself, shaked hands with Brahma, and and glorified Brahma also, and congratulated him on doing his tapasya properly. And then Brahma after seeing Krishna's beautiful form, he started crying. He couldn't control his tears. He started crying, and he bowed down to him, and then asked how he could serve, and how he could, he surrendered to his instructions, and he's his spiritual master. So he asked him that, well, how should I please Krishna? Please, Lord, give me the knowledge so that I can do the creation. And then he asked submissively with all his heart that whatever instructions you'll give, I'll follow that. So then Krishna gave him instructions, okay, that this is very very secretive, and very very important information and knowledge that I'm giving you. Please be careful with it. So he's also, in next chapter we'll read that how Krishna gave the instructions to Brahma before creation. And then it's a beautiful story. And then Brahma took it very seriously, and then Brahma is just following the orders of his Lord, of his spiritual master, of the Lord. And from there, this initiation process actually started, that we still have in our ISKCON also, that Prabhupada is coming from that disciplinic succession, because we follow the Brahma's sampradaya. We are from Brahma sampradaya, so we follow that initiation and that disciplinic succession. That's why it is said that we should follow some only authentic and bona fide spiritual master, because it connects us and initiates us to Lord Krishna through that initiation process and that disciplinic succession. So that is also the story, how the initiation started to happen, and how important it is to follow the instructions of a spiritual master, and only dedicate our lives to the instructions of spiritual master, like Brahma did, and he created. But it's very nice that Brahma, when he was instructed about these orders, he never said that, he never got proudy, and he always he prayed to Krishna that please, 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 give me the benediction that I should not become proudy. Please make me always, I should be aware that I should never become proudy of my, of me being the creator, or me creating and the living entities and the universe. So please always make me humble. I should not get proudy of it. And then Krishna gave him instruction that if you follow my instruction, if you know that I am the doer, that he also says in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna has said so many times that I am the beginning, I am the end, I am the middle. And I'm doing everything. I'm within every living entity. So he repeated those instructions to Brahma, and told him that I am, don't think yourself as the doer. I am doing everything. I'm just making you an instrument to carry out this task. So that, and he humbled Brahmaji, and then Brahma started creating the creation started. So it's a very beautiful story, how it happened, and the glorification between, and the love between the spiritual master and disciple, we can see from Brahma and Lord Krishna. So Brahma was completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, because after his birth, he could create living beings by Lord's grace only. And he could see the form of the Lord. So it was beautiful. Whether form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of the Brahma, whether the form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of Brahma is a bewildering question. And Maharaj Parikshit wanted to get clear answers from Shukadeva Goswami. So yeah, there's another, because Maharaj Parikshit wanted clear answers on that so that no one gets confused in the future also. So he was very specific about his questions. So he's also asking whether and we've also already discussed that we are same with Lord in quality, but not in quantity. Qualitatively we're similar, but qualitatively we're different. So the answers are also provided in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And in next verse, is it verse 9? No, verse 10. So in verse 10, Parikshit Maharaj is also saying, please also explain the personality of Godhead who lies in every heart of everyone's heart as a super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy. So he was not able to understand that how come God, Supreme Personality of Godhead, who lies within everyone's heart as super soul Paramatma, he lies within everyone's hearts, but it's still untouched by the external energy. So undoubtedly, the form of Lord that was seen by Brahma must be transcendental. Otherwise, how could he simply look upon the creative energy without being touched? It is understood also that the same Purusha lies in the heart of every living entity. So if we see Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse 23, Krishna says, yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. So Krishna himself is explaining that how super souls, glories of the super souls, that super soul is the transcendental enjoyer, transcendentally enjoying. He doesn't have to do anything with the material, with the creation, because his energies do everything. His energy carry out all the material tasks. And he's saying the super soul is the Lord, he's the enjoyer, and he's the supreme proprietor. So whatever materially also we are doing, actually it's going for him. We are doing for him, indirectly or directly, we're doing for him only. But our consciousness should be not about ourselves, that I'm doing it for myself. We should get purified by serving the Lord, just like in pouring water on the roots of the tree. The whole tree, the branches, everything gets the water. So he said that I am the Lord, I am the enjoyer, and I am the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that every living entity is eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. But the living entity has the tendency to reject the sanction of Supreme Lord and act independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because he has this tendency, he is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. So we, the living entities, we jivas, we are the marginal energies, and spiritual world is the superior energy, and material energy is the three modes of material nature. So the living entities can be situated either as the marginal energy or the superior energy. As long as he is conditioned by the material energy, the Supreme Lord as his friend, the super soul, stays with him just to get him to return to the spiritual energy. Actually, that is why our Lord Krishna resides within our heart, so that he can constantly tell us, jivas, that witness our action, and constantly he always gives us, he prompts us, he always tells us, don't do this, this is wrong. That's within us, the Paramatma. But we ignore it, we misuse our willpower, our free will. We misuse our free will, and then we always reject his suggestions. But he's constantly trying us to go back to our spiritual energy and not remain here. The Lord is always eager to take us back to the spiritual world, but due to our minute independence, the individual entity is continuously rejecting the association of spiritual light. This misuse of independence is the cause of his material strife in the conditioned life. The Lord, therefore, is always giving instruction from within and from without. From within and from without, he gives instructions as stated in Bhagavad Gita. And from within, he tries to convince the living entity that his activities in the material field are not conducive to real happiness. He gives that. He gives us, when we suffer in this material world, we face so many challenges. Actually, he is giving us another chance to come back, to start some devotional service, because that will give us pure happiness, true bliss. But we don't understand. We have to go through the same lessons again and again. So Krishna is, just give it up and turn your fate towards me. Krishna is saying, just give it up and turn your fate towards me, then you will be happy. So he says, thus the intelligent person who places his faith in the Paramatma, in the super soul, Supreme Personality of Godhead, begins to advance towards the blissful eternal life of knowledge. We've been given so many chances, so many lifetimes, so millions of lifetimes, but we don't use our independence wisely. But due to the mercy of Vaishnavas and associates of the Lord and Book Bhagavata, we can say Book Bhagavata is Krishna himself in Kali Yuga. If we take association of Bhagavata and shelter of Bhagavata and devotees and hear and chant Krishna's glories, our heart will become purified, and at once will start getting attracted towards, we'll start getting that attraction towards Krishna's name, and we'll start becoming better bhaktas also. And also in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.25, Krishna has said something about the super soul. So chapter 9.25. 9. Just give me a second. Oh, okay. Chapter 9. Srimad Bhagavatam chapter 9 is answers by citing the Lord's version. So in next chapter, in this chapter, Parishad Maharaj has asked all the questions, and in next chapter, chapter 9, the answers have been given very beautifully. It's going to be very nice reciting them. So in text 25 of 9th chapter, Krishna is saying, Lord Brahma said, O personality of Godhead, you are situated in every living entity's heart as the supreme director, and therefore you are aware of all endeavors by your superior intelligence without any hindrance whatsoever. So the impersonal recommend that one should become desireless. Prabhupada always tell us to not become impersonalist, because impersonalist, what do they say? They say that you should become desireless, don't have any desire, and your problems will be solved. Just renounce yourself, just meditate in a isolated place, don't have desires, detach yourself from everyone, don't do your worldly duties. So that's not possible in today's, it was not possible back then also in Arjuna time. So how will it be possible now? So Prabhupada is saying that impersonalists recommend that one should become desireless, and others recommend banishing desires altogether. All these different forms of practices, they say, don't desire anything. That is impossible. No one can banish desires altogether, because desiring is the living symptom. Prabhupada is saying, without having desires, a living entity would be dead, which he is not. Therefore, living conditions and desires go together. Perfection of desire may be achieved when one desires to serve the Lord, and the Lord also desires that every living entity banish all personal desires and cooperate with his desire. That is the last instruction of Bhagavad Gita. So Brahmaji agreed to this proposal, and therefore he is given the responsibility and responsible post of creating the generations, because his desire was not to enjoy. Brahmaji's desire was to serve his spiritual master and follow his instruction and help him in creating the universe, creating the living entities. So oneness with the Lord therefore consists of dovetailing one's desire with the desires of Supreme Lord. So impersonalists say that we should become one, we are God. But here Prabhupada is giving such beautiful example and beautifully explaining that oneness with Lord, if you really want to become one with Lord, then become one with the desires of the Lord. See what Lord desires and then follow those, try to fulfill those desires of the Lord. And that's how you become one actually. That makes the senses, that makes our desires perfect. The Lord, as a super soul in the heart of every living being, knows what is in the mind of each living entity. Lord knows everything. We can hide our secrets, but He knows everything. How are we progressing? How sincere we are? He knows everything. And no one can do anything without the knowledge of the Lord within. Also, because Krishna says, "I am the doer of everything. I am the fire and the food. I'm doing sanctioning all your desires." So no one can do anything, even if it's killing someone, whatever they're doing, abominable activities they're doing, they cannot even do that without Krishna's knowing it or sanctioning it. Now we'll say that why do Krishna sanction such things also? Because being a father, loving father, he doesn't want to control us. He has given us free will to decide. So by Krishna's superior intelligence, he gives everyone the chance to fulfill their desires. So that if we have desires, so many desires, and he doesn't fulfill our desires, then what will happen? We'll become more frustrated, and we will not go back to Godhead also. So that's why he gives us full chance. Okay, you take all the freedom. I'll fulfill all your desires. I'm seated within your heart. I'm seeing everything. If you want to come back also, I'll give you that also. Then I'll be more happy if you will use it, because I know that you will be free from this entanglement of the world. So Krishna is so loving that he's giving us this free will to choose, and then fulfilling our desires also, so that we don't have any desire other than, finally we'll have desire to serve him. So so Krishna gives everyone the chance to fulfill his desires to the fullest extent, and the resultant reaction is always awarded by the Lord. So this is what Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 9, verse 25. In next chapter, we will read about that also. And this is how these three verses, today's verses, are covered. And in next verses, we will also, Parikshit Maharaj's question is also actually answered in his question only. He's answered his question, because in next few questions is answered, asking about how the gigantic form of the Lord has different universes situated. Can you explain how they're situated? What is their role? And about creation, he's asking those questions. But in previous verses, he also asked, what is the difference between gigantic body of the Lord and the living entities? So he's also asking, answering his own questions also in later verses. Hare Krishna. If we have any question, anyone has any question, can ask, or any comments or any realization, any thoughts. If not, then we'll.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Madanur Pranam, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, you always explain it so beautifully. It just goes straight in my head. So thank you. I just want to say a massive thanks, Mataji. And I think, Mataji, my reflection and realization is, if I can share, is, when you said Brahmaji heard the word tapaha twice,
Yes.
and he just carried on the instructions. I mean, I just sometimes feel I am so fallen that, as if Krishna is every day saying to me what to do, and I'm like, I look at Brahmaji, just got 2 words, and he just got to go on with it. So that's my reflection, Mataji, that I'm so fallen that every single day Krishna is telling me, and I'm like, nah, might as well sort this out for children, or do this or do that, and I just feel I'm so fallen. But that's my reflection, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes, you're very right, Mataji. Actually, we don't even follow what we have in the scriptures. And it's coming down from Brahma only. Brahma has seen Krishna with his eyes. He must be so fortunate, and we should be so thankful to him also, because he's devotee of the Lord. And sometimes we just keep blaspheming the demigods also. We don't realize that they're also at high level. Krishna has sanctioned them these duties, and they're just carrying out the instructions. So we should be very grateful and thankful to the demigods and Vaishnavas, all the Vaishnavas, because they're serving the Lord selflessly. And we are here not even following the 4 regs or the simple instructions of the scriptures. That also we are not following. And then I think these stories are so important to revise and to go through these stories of Bhagavatam and listen to them, because it purifies us and reminds us that, look, these were our ancestors. These were the true examples of how a devotee should be. So it's very nice to always go through them and discuss within devotees. So it purifies us and allows us to improve. Listening to Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami, they're all liberated actually. They just played this role to make us progress in our spiritual life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Any other realization, Mataji? Okay. Okay, thank you. Then we'll end today's session, and we'll be ready for the next verses and next chapter. Chapter 9 is very beautiful, where this is all explained in detail, how Krishna and Brahma met, and what Krishna saw, what Brahma saw in Vaikuntha, and how did he do so much of austerity, penance, and what is actually Krishna looking for in devotees. It's very secret, actually. These stories, if we read it very deeply, they will give us more realization on very small topics, how to surrender, how to make Krishna, how to please Krishna, what is that Krishna really wants from us. So it's very beautiful. And the questions are also important, because if the questions are not asked, then we will not get the answers also. So very grateful to Parikshit Maharaj and the ancestors also, all the devotees in the past. Because of these devotees, we wouldn't have been hearing Bhagavatam today. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and thank you so much for the recitations also. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you, Mataji. Beautiful class. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji, so
Hare
much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Beautiful explanation. Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.